Once again, welcome to our English class. And now we are going through the lesson A Shipwrecked Sailor, written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, otherwise called as Gabo. And here you have seen the 20-year-old sailor Velasco, who was washed overboard during a storm in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. So you have already gone through the first 3 paragraphs of the lesson. What happened? We have seen Velasco in the middle of the sea and he was trying to escape in any way. But first of all, he thought that he was alone in the sea. And he tried to get hold of a crate which was scattered in the middle of the sea after the shipwreck. He could get hold of the crate, and then he understood that he was not alone in the sea. There were other sailors also, and they were also shouting for help. And Velasco at last succeeded in getting into a life raft, and he was trying to help others to escape from the sea. Now we have to see whether he could help his friends or not. Already we have seen that Carabello, his friend, he was calling for him, his help, and Velasco was trying to reach his friends to help them. Now, what happens next? Could Velasco help them or not? All these things we have to see. Let us go through the next paragraph. I will read it for you. I recognized them immediately. Castillo had a firm grip around Carabello's neck. Carabello, who had been on watch when the accident occurred, was wearing his life jacket. He yelled, "Hold on tight, Castillo." They floated amid the scattered cargo, about 10 meters away. On the other side was Luis Rengifo, trying to stay above water with his headphones aloft in his right hand. He had stripped off his shirt so that he could swim better, but he had lost his life jacket. Even if I hadn't seen him, I would have recognized his cry, "Fatso, paddle over here." So, we have seen that there was not only Carabello, there was some other people like Castillo, who was holding tight on Carabello's neck. And we can see here that each of them were trying to help each other. And Velasco also was trying to help his friends. Okay, so I recognized them immediately. He could recognize his friends in the middle of the sea. And Castillo had a firm grip around Carabello's neck. Castillo was holding on to the neck of Carabello. And he was asking him, Carabello was asking him to hold on tight so that he will stay there safe. Okay. And another man was Luis Rengifo. What was he doing? On the other side was Luis Rengifo trying to stay above water with his headphones aloft in his right hand. Okay, in the picture you can see how he was holding his headphone. He was lifting his headphone. And he had stripped off his shirt so that he could swim better. Why had he stripped off his shirt? Thinking that he could swim better. Who had stripped off his shirt? Luis Rengifo, right. Then he was calling out to Velasco to help him. I quickly grabbed the oars and tried to get closer to the men. So Velasco was trying to get closer to his friends to save them, to help them. Carabello, with Castillo clinging to his neck, neared the raft. Much farther away, looking small and desolate, was the fourth of my mates, Raymond Herrera, who was waving at me while he held on to a crate. So I quickly grabbed the oars and tried to get closer to the men. There were many people crying for help. So Velasco got hold of the oars and he was trying to reach near those people. And who was the fourth person? Much farther away. Farther away means more far. Far, farther, farthest. These are the degrees of comparison. Who was there? Looking small and desolate was the fourth of my mates, Raymond Herrera, who was waving at me while he held on to a crate. Waving at him. Raymond Herrera was waving at him, and he was also holding on to a crate. So he had to help all these friends, and Velasco was a single person and he was on a life raft. Only he was on the life raft and he had to help all these four people. That was the situation of Velasco. If I had to decide, I wouldn't have known which of my mates to go after first. But when I saw Herrera, the happy young man from Arjona, who had been with me only a few moments before, I began to paddle furiously. But the life raft was almost 2 meters long. It was very heavy in that lurching sea, and I had to row against the wind. I don't think I managed to advance more than a meter. Desperate, I looked around once more and saw that Herrera had disappeared. Only Rengifo was swimming confidently towards the raft. I was sure he would make it. I had heard him snoring below my bunk, and I was convinced that his serenity was stronger than the sea. So, he was trying to help Raymond Herrera, but he could not. If I had to decide, it is past perfect. If I had to decide, I wouldn't have known which of my mates to go after first. Which of my friends? See, if there are 4 of your friends, your best friends are crying for help, who will you save? We will be in a dilemma, no? Because all are same for us. So, we have to decide who is to be helped, right? So here, that was the crisis of, that was the confusion of Velasco also. He had to decide. So what did he do? But when I saw Herrera, the happy young man from Arjona, who had been with me only a few moments before, when Velasco saw Herrera, he thought it was better to help him. So he went to Raymond Herrera. But the life raft was almost 2 meters long. It was very heavy in that lurching sea, and I had to row against the wind. So there are many adverse conditions for Velasco. What was the condition? The life raft was very long, 2 meters long, very heavy also in that lurching sea. The sea was lurching. Very big waves were there. So the sea was lurching and I had to row against the wind. That's also one problem. What was the problem? The wind was against him. So he had to row against the wind. I don't think I managed to advance more than a meter. The life raft is 2 meters long, and he could not manage to advance even a meter. Then he looked around once more and saw that Herrera was disappeared. He had disappeared. Only Rengifo was swimming confidently towards the raft. I was sure he would make it. He was sure that Rengifo would make it. How? Because I had heard him snoring below my bunk and I was convinced that his serenity was stronger than the sea. He was very much confident about Rengifo's willpower, his his self-confidence and so on. So he was very sure that Rengifo could make it. So he was expecting. Raymond Herrera had already disappeared. Now he was expecting to help Luis Rengifo. Let us see. In contrast, Carabello was struggling with Castillo so that Castillo wouldn't let go of his neck. They were less than 3 meters away. I figured that if they got just a little closer, I could hold out an oar for them to grab. But at that moment, a gigantic wave lifted the raft, and from the top of the huge crest, I could see the mast of the small ship heading away from me. When I came down again, Carabello had vanished, with Castillo hanging on to his neck. Alone, 2 meters away, Rengifo was still swimming calmly towards the raft. So there were 2 persons. Who were they? Carabello and Castillo. Carabello was struggling with Castillo so that Castillo wouldn't let go of his neck. Okay, so now they were 3 meters apart from Velasco. So what did Velasco think? He thought that he could help them if he could hold out an oar, if they came a little nearer. But what happened? At that time, a huge wave, a huge means a very big wave came, and Castillo and Carabello also had disappeared. Now there is only one person left. Who's that? He was Luis Rengifo. Okay, now he was swimming calmly towards the life raft. So that swimming itself gave Velasco a confidence that Rengifo will escape. Okay, so we have to see whether Velasco could help Rengifo or not. I don't know why I did this absurd thing. Knowing I couldn't move forward, I put the oar in the water as though trying to prevent the raft from moving, trying to anchor it in place. Rengifo, exhausted, paused a moment, then raised his arm as he had when he held his headphones aloft and shouted again, "Fatso, row over here!" So, what was Velasco doing? He just put the oar in the water as though trying to prevent the raft from moving. Okay, and he himself said that it was an absurd thing. He did not understand why he did so at that time. That time, Rengifo, he was exhausted, he was totally tired. Paused a moment, he stopped for a moment, then raised his arm as he had when he held his headphones aloft. And he shouted to Velasco, "Please come here, please come here." The wind was blowing from his direction. I yelled that I couldn't row against the wind, that he should make another try. But I felt he hadn't heard me. The crates of cargo had disappeared, and the life raft danced from side to side, battered by the waves. In an instant, I was 5 meters away from Rengifo and had lost sight of him. But he appeared in another spot, still not panicking, ducking underwater to prevent the waves from sweeping him away. I stood up, holding out the oar, hoping Rengifo could get close enough to reach it. But then I could see he was tiring, losing heart. He called at me again, sinking, "Fatso, Fatso." So, what did we see here? The confident man, Rengifo, he was trying to reach near the raft. He tried his maximum, but the fate was against him. So, he also sank in the water. Poor Velasco could not help any of his mates. And he lost Castillo, Carabello, Raymond Herrera, and Luis Rengifo. I tried to row, but it was as hopeless as the first time. I made a last try so that Rengifo could reach the oar, but the raised hand, which a few minutes earlier had been trying to keep the headphones from sinking, sank forever, less than 2 meters from the oar. So, his shipmate, the last one, Luis Rengifo, also sank forever. So now you can imagine the condition of Velasco. He tried to help all his shipmates, but he could not. And now he was alone in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. So friends, now we have gone through the 10 paragraphs of A Shipwrecked Sailor. And I think you have understood these 10 paragraphs. And we can go through the questions and find out the answers. Right? And that's all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.